today's guest is part of our provider feature. Who we're bringing on is Lisa Bellini. Lisa is located in the East Bay of Northern California. She's a nutritionist with every credential you can imagine beyond her name. She specializes in helping people with weight management, diabetes education. She also helps with celiac disease, menopause symptoms. She helps with preventing cancer and more. She is just incredible. She's super dynamic, easy to talk to, and you can access her anywhere you are because she takes patients online and virtually, as well as face-to-face when that's what you're looking for. So I'm really excited to introduce to you everyone, Lisa Bellini. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you on the show. We've been wanting to have you on for a while, and we're so excited to feature you because I understand that you actually have a new relationship this year with Brown and Tolan Medical Group. So you're taking even more patients than ever before. And I'm going to put our names up there so you can see Lisa and all those credentials past her name. And then you see me, Erin at Black Point Insurance. So welcome. So Lisa, I've just loved getting to know you so far, and you just bring so much experience and expertise, and you also do it in a personal, friendly way. So I'm excited for everybody to enjoy you as much as I do. So welcome.
Thanks, Erin. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, fantastic. So Lisa, tell us a little bit about your background. I'm curious, did you always want to go into nutrition? How did this all get started?
I think I did. I had an affinity very young because so funny. My mother was born in southern Italy and they were farmers. So they grew their own food. My mother thought she was so poor, but literally she had the most fantastic diet, fresh fruits and vegetables right from their own land. They didn't have any processed foods. And so she really empowered me to always seek out the highest quality nutritionist food, wherever I was, whether eating at home or ordering out in a restaurant. And my favorite memories of my mom are when she would look around our kitchen table and say, everything on the table I grew. And so, what comfort that was growing up. And I cannot say I have a green thumb like she did. However, I strive to do the same for my family because now I know why. I have the reason and the science behind it that good, nutritious, wholesome foods make a difference in our overall health.
100%. And it's so wonderful that you had that from such a young age. I feel like a lot of the people I work with, even myself, I was sitting there thinking, gosh, when I was growing up, I had a lot of bologna sandwiches and meat and potatoes. And I think I was the frozen food generation when microwaves first came out. And I'm thinking of all these things that we were exposed to. So I wish that I'd had that background. So I find like a lot of us, we don't have those great habits ingrained in us. Is that what you find a lot when you're working with people? And how do you help them kind of shift to building stronger, better habits kind of moving forward?
Yeah, great question. We are in a fast food society. We want it quick. We want it now. We have no patience to wait. And that's why microwaves are so popular. And it really does get way too easy to pop in a frozen entree and call it dinner. However, it's the small, simple changes over time that are going to make the biggest difference. So I wouldn't tell someone who's used to that lifestyle to go cold turkey and all of a sudden start cooking every meal from scratch. That's not possible. It's not realistic. It's not feasible. And I would never put that on anybody. So what I like to say is pick one thing, just one habit that you want to strive for this week. And for some people, it might just be, I want to eat at least 3 vegetables a day. And so when you think about that, it sounds so overwhelming if you were eating 0, but it could be as simple as I'm going to buy a bag of, baby carrots, or a bag of pre-made, pre-washed salad ingredients. And I'm going to, put an extra tomato in there. There's your 3 vegetables. So we have the ability to do these things if we think ahead. We think of what's available. Grocery stores today actually accommodate a lot of convenience, and we don't
Right.
have to rely on fast foods.
Yeah. Well, I really think that unfortunately for a lot of us, that has been our backdrop. So I really like your approach of, I guess, kind of taking baby steps. I know in my life, I've yo-yoed on diets and different types of things, and I can lose weight, right?
Yeah.
You kind of restrict and you lose weight, but then when you go back to normal, right? When you're done,
Yeah.
so to speak, then your habits come back and usually you gain more weight than you did in the first place. So I just feel like this whole concept of taking baby step lifestyle changes seems a lot more sustainable.
I agree. I see it all the time. I have patients who have been, I'm going to say, dieters all their life. But you know what happens? They're so severe and so restrictive, it rebounds. And that's where you see when, like you said, you gain more weight than when you started. That's not going to help you over the long term. It really has to be embedded into your thinking. Everything starts up here, right? What are your expectations? What can I realistically achieve? We have to know, well, what is available to you? What's your family dynamics? Who has time to go grocery shopping? Is there anyone in the house who even has time to prepare anything? It doesn't always have to be mom, those
Right,
teenage children who are home from school this summer can certainly be big helpers.
right.
So,
Definitely.
assessing what's possible first and then start to problem solve. And that's where I come in. I'm like a coach because I really believe we all have the answers inside of us. We just need to see, where can I explore more avenues? And that's the fun part because once we open up that box, it's endless and
Right.
opportunities appear.
Fantastic. So, I love what you're saying and I love your approach and your style. So, I know there's a ton of education behind what you do, right? And so I see all these initials past your name. Can you tell us what all these letters mean and what it takes to be in your position? Because this isn't for the faint of heart to do what you're doing. It was a long process, a long journey in terms of education and training to be able to really do what you do. So can you tell us a little bit about what goes into being a registered dietitian, what goes into being a diabetes educator? Can you give us a little of
Sure.
that background?
Of course. So I started out with a 4-year degree in clinical dietetics. I went to the University of Connecticut on the East Coast. And then I did an internship. It's required to do a 2-year internship so that
Wow.
you can even sit for the exam from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And once I passed the exam, I became a registered dietitian. And then beyond that, I went on for my master's degree in nutrition at Boston University. And then beyond that, I went on for an additional certification to become a diabetes educator because I just felt like diabetes was skyrocketing and I needed to be on top of the latest information. And the reason why this is actually very important, Erin, thank you for bringing it up, is anybody can call themselves a nutritionist. That is not a word that requires credentials. So if
Right.
you go to your local health food store, the owner of that store can say, I'm a nutritionist. I can lead you to buying the correct supplements or advise you on your diet. Or you could go to your local gym and personal trainers will certainly have a lot of diet advice for you.
Right.
But unless someone is a registered dietitian, you cannot be assured that they're going to give you evidence-based information on scientific research.
I feel like that's so important. And it's kind of one of those things where everybody's an expert these days. The internet's the expert, but really having an actual expert with the education behind it, I actually think is really important. You know,
Well,
one thing you mentioned, oh, go ahead.
I was going
What
to
were you
say, you're right. Anybody could do a search on the internet. However, it's conflicting information. And that's when somebody will come to me and they'll say, you know what? I see in one link this information, and then the next link contradicts it. How am I to decide? So I can be that guide to help you decipher what's out there and really understand the myths or the misconceptions and the truth.
Definitely. And one of the things that you had mentioned earlier that I was thinking of is, you know, being a diabetes educator. And I see that in my business, right? Because I'm helping Medicare beneficiaries, plenty of whom have diabetes or pre-diabetes or dealing with this. And it does seem to be a really big problem. And you took the time to do that extra education. Is there recertification and retraining that is available to diabetes educators? So do you just stay up to speed on all the latest and greatest? Because it seems like things are changing so dynamically in that space.
Always. I'm required to do continuing education every year. And even to maintain my credentials, I have to show that I have at least 15 hours a year of, let's say attending a conference or doing some self study. And I usually choose topics, that are the most interesting to my patients.
Right.
Because you're right, there's research all the time, and I have to be abreast of it so I could maintain my current status.
Right.
Mm,
Absolutely. I just think that's incredible. So just
mm.
for all the listeners out there, everybody's an educator, right? I mean, even in my space, I find that people are getting their information from dinner parties, friends,
Right.
relatives, physicians. It's like, no, in my space, when we're talking about Medicare plans, it's best to work with a licensed agent that has the training and education and certification to help support that. And the same goes with any business or any service that you're providing. So I'm so happy that you bring that to the table. And I'm here to tell you about a health plan called Aetna. Aetna is a health plan built on solid ground with over 170 years of experience helping people with their healthcare choices. Aetna offers Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, and Part D prescription drug plans across multiple counties across the country. Aetna is known for their innovative product designs, especially on their medical plans, including things like vision, dental, hearing, and more. It might be time to consider Aetna for your healthcare coverage. For more information on Aetna Medicare plans, please visit their website at aetnamedicare.com or contact your local agent. I love your style. So,
Well, and here's another thing to think about. When somebody goes to their medical doctor, it's usually for some type of chronic disease, right? And the doctors don't have time to address nutrition. They're trying to handle a lot of emergencies in, chronic situations or acute situations. So that's why I get so many referrals, because they feel like, I'm going to refer this patient for physical therapy. I'm also going to refer them for nutrition counseling. And
right.
so that's why insurance will cover this, because once you have credentials as a registered dietitian, insurance recognizes that and they cover it. But if you seek out a nutritionist, like I said, insurance will not.
Insurance doesn't typically cover the grocery store trainer variety, right? So, or the internet, doctor internet, right? So I was going to ask you, where do you get most of your patients? It sounds like you get a lot of them on referral. Tell me a little bit about where your patients come from and what a typical patient profile looks like.
Yes, a good question. So most come from physicians. So, it could be self-referral too. I'm affiliated with so many of the health plans that I'm in their directories. So an individual can look, let's say, for example, Blue Shield, and go on their directory, find me under the specialty of nutrition. but most of the time it comes from their doctors themselves. So who do I see? Really everybody from infants. I think my oldest patient was probably 96. So it's
Never
the
too late to get on the right
no,
nutrition program.
it's the entire life cycle, because at every stage of our life we have different needs and requirements. I've had young women, even young men with anorexia. I've had the cancer patients. I've had failure to thrive infants. I have children who have obesity issues. And can you believe this? Type 2 diabetes that was never seen before in children. If a child had diabetes, we used to call it juvenile diabetes. And that's when they were born that way. It's an inborn error of metabolism. But because obesity is on the rise, it's an epidemic in our children and adolescents, they are now experiencing adult onset diabetes. And
That
so
is so scary. That's alarming.
it
Just
is
so
alarming. It's
such
a
a
very sad state of affairs because it's preventable. And so that's the good news. Most of our chronic diseases, I have to say, 80% of them are preventable and can be reversed. So there
that's
is good news.
thank gosh you bring in the hope when we kind of talk through this. So talk to me. Obviously, you see patients of all ages. They come to you on referral. You take so many different insurances, which is amazing. So let's say I'm your new patient. I come to you and I'm referred by my doctor for weight loss, just as a for example. Take me through your process. You meet me. We have an introductory telephone call. What's that about? What would that look like?
Well, usually it starts with an assessment. I will ask a series of questions. I want to get to know my new patient. I want to understand, what are the obstacles? What has happened in the past? What has been successful before? Where are we now? What do they need the most help with? And then I even ask a lot of my patients to keep food records, because when you are writing down everything you eat and drink for 24 hours, and it's in black and white, it's on paper or perhaps on an app. And I actually use a lot of free apps to do that. We can't forget, right? So, sometimes I walk by my kitchen and I see, oh, I like to just snag that piece of fruit or that extra cookie on the counter. It doesn't register up here. But when I have to write something down and then I look at it at the end of the day, the light bulb goes off. And I said, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So I really like to keep at least a 3-day log, so I have a really good idea of what's happening. And the reason I say 3 days is because our Monday through Friday could look very different than the weekends. So
Right.
usually 2 work days, weekdays, and then at least 1 weekend day, because things change. You're in a different routine, different structure. So the foods become very different. And then culturally, I like to understand, is this person eating foods that they grew up with that are very important to them? And I would never ask somebody to take away a food that, carries so much meaning, special connotations that give them comfort, and that they've been having all their life. So, of course, my philosophy is moderation. I like to work in those favorites, keep as much as possible, but show them what their options are.
Absolutely. I love that. And I love that you're so consultative and you take the time. And I know from what you've shared with me before, you help them figure out the insurance piece and payment and make sure that it's a real partnership and you can work together. So it's both from a clinical standpoint and then a sort of business standpoint. You help people to make your services accessible, which is incredible. So, we talked about a lot of the patients you treat. I mean, even touch things that I didn't even realize, like failure to thrive for infants, this childhood obesity issue with diabetes, all the way to diabetes education as we grow older and more people are becoming diabetic. But I know you treat a wide range of conditions. And I thought it'd be helpful for you to touch on some of the things that are kind of on your subspecialty list of what you help people, aside from just not just, but the diabetes and the weight management, which clearly is going to be a big part of your practice. But there's other things as well that people are dealing with out there, and I thought it'd be helpful to share with them some of your subspecialties.
One of my favorites is working with pregnant women.
Ah,
And yes, so to have a healthy diet during pregnancy, of course, is key for the growing baby. But sometimes things come up. There's a certain week where women will have to do a glucose tolerance test. And oftentimes women fail this test. And so what happens is they're put into
nailed
well, you're put into a category called gestational diabetes. It doesn't mean you're a diabetic, but it means during this length of pregnancy, you have to really adhere to a diabetic diet. And then oftentimes upon delivery, that goes away. So I love working with women who, need to understand this. Another thing that pops up during pregnancy, you might have heard of preeclampsia, and that's high blood pressure. And oftentimes, again, it's not that they're doing anything wrong, but picture a small woman, maybe 5 feet, and all of a sudden she's gained 25% of her normal body weight. Well, that's a lot of stress to put on the body. So, of course, blood pressure is going to go up. So, how do you control that? Of course, you need to follow your doctor's advice, but there's many implications on things you could do with your diet. And then, another thing is heart disease. I really feel strongly that heart disease, which is still the number one killer of all Americans, can be prevented. And early on, establishing good habits on how do I approach my meal planning? What do I do for snacks? What am I choosing for my beverages? Can be key factors in longevity and lifestyle. Another area I also love is sports nutrition. A lot of our adolescents who get into athletics often seek the advice of their coaches, which is great because coaches are very good about telling them to stay hydrated. But oftentimes there's some fallacies. I've had gymnasts who are very concerned about their weight, because the lighter a gymnast is, the less that they have to carry when they're doing all those flips and those turns and all those things. I've had ballerinas, who are on the border of an eating disorder. I've had wrestlers who have to make weight. I've had football players, they usually are a little bit heavier, but that doesn't mean that their body fat percentage should be higher. They want muscle. And how do you gain muscle mass? You need calories, you need protein, but not too much protein. And, there's so many popular diets today, like the keto diet and the South Beach diet was popular, the paleo diet. But I have to tell you, Erin, these cause imbalances. When you're focusing on one food group over another, for example, lots of protein and very little carbs, it will come back to bite you. It's not about, I need a ketone, a high ketone diet. That doesn't do well for the long haul. And especially teenagers who are so vulnerable. I love being their, partner and seeking out what's really best for them.
Excellent, excellent. So now I know recently you developed a new relationship, and there's a huge medical group, one of the biggest, I think, in the United States, Brown and Toland Medical Group. They're a large group. They work with patients of all ages. How I work with Brown and Toland is we offer plans called Medicare Advantage plans, where people select Brown and Toland as their network of doctors. And most of the people we're working with on the Medicare Advantage plans are, of course, Medicare beneficiaries, usually age 65 or older or younger, with permanent disabilities, some of which could be in the category that you treat, anorexia or other conditions. And I'm excited about this new relationship because now this means you're accessible to Brown and Tolan patients, which is great. So can you tell us a little bit about that? I think you're excited about it too. How does that work?
Yeah, so I am in the directory. Brown and Tolan physicians have already started to refer their patients to me. It could be HMO, it could be PPO. And what I do really just to start, if somebody seeks me out or if a doctor refers, the first thing I do is check that the insurance is going to cover this, because I don't want the patient to have any surprises. And most times it does. So what I do is I ask for a copy of their insurance card, their date of birth. I go back on the Brown and Tolan website. I verify the insurance, make sure everything will be covered so that we don't have to send a bill later. That's not comfortable. So I do that groundwork right at the very start, and I let the patient know, what's going on, so they're fully aware. And then we get started. We make an appointment and we begin. And I know you said this, but most of my patients prefer telehealth. So a lot of times it's hard for them to commute or, to travel somewhere. And, we all got used to telehealth during the pandemic. It's here
the only positive thing to come out of that, right?
Probably, right. But it's definitely here to stay. I know I just did a telehealth appointment with my physician for my dad because, especially elderly people, mobility is an issue. So it's just so much more convenient. And I feel like we're all going in that direction.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited to hear you say this. And so just for everybody out there, first of all, throw us a like, give us a comment about Lisa. But for all you Brown and Tolan doctors, Lisa Bellini, registered dietitian, is available for your patients. You can refer to her now. If you're interested in accessing services with Lisa, she's taking patients. She works primarily on referral, but you can certainly let her know if you heard about us on Empower Hour and help her to continue to do her good work out there and provide care and services for so many people. So I'm so excited that you're growing and you're working with Brown and Tolan. That means you're going to be accessible to a lot of Medicare beneficiaries out there that desperately need these services. So happy to have you doing that. So Lisa, tell me a little bit about yourself, right? So you spend a lot of time helping people and guiding them and putting them on their nutrition journey. But when you're not doing that, what do you like to do for free time and for fun?
Oh, okay. Well, I certainly practice what I preach. So I do love to cook. I have to tell you, this morning, I just started a new batch of sprouts. I am growing my own sprouts.
See, you do have the green thumb a little bit.
Only indoors in a limited way. But really, my favorite activities are biking. My husband and I love to get on our bikes and do a 25-miler. We love to hike.
Wow.
We live in Northern California and we have so much available to us. We live very close to Mount Diablo, so we often seek out trails. There's so many to discover. I don't think we've been on all of them. The East Bay Regional Parks are beautiful. We'd love to see the wildflowers and just be out in nature. It's so healing. And when that's not possible, I am at the gym.
So it sounds like exercise and nutrition are a big part of your personal life too.
Yes, it has to be. I have grandchildren too, and I feel like I'm done.
That is not something I believe looking at you.
Well, I'm done influencing my children, but now I feel a responsibility so that this next generation grows up healthy and has all the tools they need. So oftentimes I'm with them and just giving them little pieces of information, not to overwhelm them. But even my young grandson, sometimes he'll look at a food label and he'll say to me, "Grandma, does it have protein?" So I don't think he knows what it means, but it's a key word. and he knows it
Right.
pushes one of my hot buttons.
Absolutely. How old is your grandson?
He's 5.
Only 5 years old and can see that and talk
Yes,
to you about it. That's pretty incredible. So well,
yes,
he's on the right track for sure.
yes, and I have a daughter-in-law who has, a one-year-old. She's celebrating this weekend. My daughter-in-law makes all of her baby food homemade,
That's
and
amazing.
I didn't tell her to do that, but I'm so proud of her because that is awesome. My daughter did it too, and I just feel like they are taking steps now that are really going to pay back huge in the future. Both my daughter and daughter-in-law, really chose the breastfeeding route. And these are things that I know I did, but you can't tell other people to do them. You can make suggestions, but I'm so proud they figured that out on their own and that they're giving their children such a great starting ground.
Absolutely. Well, just talking to you, your energy is so great and you really live that lifestyle, staying healthy, exercising, getting the fresh air, appreciating nature. And it sounds like you've made that run through with your entire family. That's amazing. So now for the rest of us sort of mere mortals, the bologna sandwich generation, so talk to us a little bit, Lisa. Tell us a little bit about if you were to kind of give us, so obviously we can do a consult for full information, but if you were to give us some advice, like a take home message, like what 1-2 punch could we do right away after listening to your great talk today? What would you advise us out here?
That's great. That's another great point. I think the first thing is to start being aware of what you're putting in your body. Maybe if you have 5 minutes, go in your kitchen and open up all the cupboards, the refrigerator, and start turning any food packages to the side panel where the nutritional information is. And look for some keywords. I would say the first one is sugar. See if there's any hidden sugar because sometimes it hides. It's under other names like high fructose corn syrup, maltose, dextrose. So notice that OSE, that's a key. Anything ending
OSE equals sugar.
OSE is sugar. Even honey is sugar. Your body is going to metabolize it quickly, just like any other simple sugar, just like table sugar, which is sucrose. So we've had a lot of research now is pinpointing not only is sugar detrimental for people with diabetes, but it's also a risk factor for heart disease. Sugar is a very sticky substance, so it sticks to our arteries. And when that happens, it starts building up the plaque. And then we can have things like high cholesterol and atherosclerosis. And so we want to be aware. The one thing people say to me is, I had no idea what I was eating. So if all I do is create awareness, because I feel like people can make really good decisions when they understand what's going on. And I feel very strongly that food manufacturers have not been transparent in letting us know how much sugar and how much salt they put in our food. These things have been used for many years for flavoring agents or for preservatives, but it's gotten so out of hand. I'll give you an example. Some Americans can eat between 5,000 and 10,000 milligrams of sodium a day.
Wow.
It's a lot because what's recommended is less than 2,300 milligrams. So when you
Wow.
put it in perspective, we overdo it. 2,300 milligrams is about what you get in a teaspoon of salt. So without adding any salt at the table, you're already meeting the requirements. And
Right.
there's no requirement for sugar in the diet. But I'm just like everybody else. I like my sweets too.
It's
So
moderation, right? Being
yes,
aware.
I have to learn how to moderate. And yes, I have lots of tricks and tips on how to do that. And I'm happy to share.
That is wonderful. So, Lisa, what I'm hearing you say is just even if you took nothing else out of today, just get aware, see what you're eating, write it
Yes.
down, open the cupboards, check it out, because even if you think you're eating healthy, you may not be if you dig under the hood, so to speak, and see what's there. So,
Right.
Lisa, you've been amazing. So, tell us, if potential patients out there, want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach you?
You can simply call me. My cell phone, text me, call me is 925-963-3663. I'll take you, through verifying your insurance, getting that all squared away, and then we can begin.
Sounds amazing. So one more time, I'll say contact Lisa Bellini, registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, and amazing nutritionist and inspiration extraordinaire. Phone number is 925-963-3663. So you heard it here. Please feel free to contact Lisa to get a pre-assessment and consultation. And then Lisa, what about for all those physicians listening out there that say, oh, I didn't know about Lisa. I want to send in a
Yeah.
patient or send her orders or provide notes. What's the best way for the physician community to reach you?
Yeah. So for secure messaging, I prefer fax. And the fax comes directly to me. You don't even need a cover sheet. And that's a different a different number. And that's area code 925-326-2352. And most of the orders come through fax. And as soon as I get that, again, I start with verifying the insurance. So a lot of times what I like to request is a copy of the insurance card, the demographics, any chart notes, any labs that have been taken, any clinical information that pertains to the patient, the diagnosis, the reason for the referral, whatever you could provide would be great.
Sounds amazing. Well, Lisa, I have really enjoyed our talk today. I think you're wonderful. I've got little tidbits that I'm writing down. I'm going to go open my cupboards as soon as we hang out to see what I've been putting into my body. Even though I think I'm eating healthy, I always find surprises. So you just are such a pleasure, and I can't wait to work with you more as we bring you more patients through Brown and Tolan Medical Group. And really would like my audience out there to reach out to you for a consult wherever they are, since you can meet them virtually where they are. So nice to meet you, Lisa. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Erin. I look forward to working with you as well.
Have a great day.